Hi, good afternoon students. Myself, Adavaya Hiremat, who will be taking science for you for class 5. Alright, I think with respect to science, first chapter is over. So now we'll be moving on to the next one, that is adaptation and survival of animals. Adaptation and survival of animals. First of all, you should know what is adaptation. What is adaptation? Before that, there are a few pictures given in the textbook. I don't know how many have seen it. They are given which are the animals that live in desert, which are the animals that live in polar regions. Polar regions is nothing but snowy area. Then forest, then seawater and pond water. Where do we all live? We all live in our homes. So that is our home is habitat of ours. Similarly, the animals which live and survive in desert, they are known to be the habitats of desert. So the word habitat is coming. We'll see this word habitat in the later part, so after 5-10 minutes. But before that, I want you to let me know what are the animals that live in desert. Everyone knows that the sheep of desert is popularly known as camel. So sheep of desert is known as camel. Apart from camel, there are foxes that live in desert, lizards, and etc. Then polar regions. Polar regions means the area is fully covered with snow. Wherever you see, you will find only snow. That is why it is too white in color, right? I think Jammu and Kashmir in India, probably one of the snowy area. We call it as snowy area. Polar regions are different. That is Arctic and Antarctic region. So in polar regions, the animals like polar bear, and in Arctic and Antarctic region we find your penguins. Penguins are there. Then next is forest. I think everyone knows which are the animals that lives in the forest, and king of jungle. I think you all have heard this. So king of jungle is nothing but it's lion. King of jungle is lion. Apart from lion, elephant, then tiger. There are many animals that we all know which lives in forest. Then coming to seawater. In seawater we might see fish, dolphin, blue whale, and octopus. The last one is pond water. In pond water, I think you all have seen tortoise. I think you love that tortoise, right? We find tortoise, frog, and snake, etc. So these are the regions, and these are the animals that live in the respective regions. For example, desert, the animals which live in desert, their habitat is desert. For example, camel's habitat is desert. Then in the next one, it is polar region or snowy area. We find polar bear, penguins in Arctic and Antarctic region. So their habitat is that particular polar region. Then next we have forest, lion, tiger, elephant, bear. Their habitat is forest. And then I think I don't know whether you know it or no. We have water, but sea water is written different and pond water is written different. Sea water is salty in nature, that is why it is different, and pond water is not salty, that is why the habitat changes there for few organisms. In sea water, in sea, we all know there will be big dolphins, blue whale, fishes and all. But when it comes to pond water, we find tortoise, frog and snake. Is this clear everyone? Whatever the picture was given in this adaptation and survival of animals in this second chapter, in the first page, what was given? There were some diagrams. So with respect to that, we have written what kind of animals are found in those different given regions. Is this clear? Fine. So I told few minutes earlier the word called habitat. The word habitat. What is this habitat actually? We have seen whatever kind of animals were living in the different regions, forest and all, lion, tiger was there. So there, habitat of lion and tiger is forest. And even I give example, we all live in our respective homes. So habitat of all of us is our respective homes. So what is habitat here? It is nothing but the place where an animal live is called its habitat. So is this clear children? The place where an animal lives, it is its habitat. Is this clear? And we find the habitat mainly of three types. We find majorly how many types? It is two types, not three. We find two types of habitats major. One is about land as a habitat for many organisms, and the other it is water for some organisms. So you mainly find two types of habitats on this planet. One is land and the other one is water. In land, what all comes? One is plain area, then deserts. Apart from deserts, we have forests. After forests, it is mountains. And after mountains, it is snowy area. Snowy area, which is polar regions. Then about water, we have one sea water and the another it is pond water. Sea water and pond water. So land is a habitat and even water is also a habitat for many organisms. Land is a habitat where it is having sub 5 divisions: plain area, desert, forest, then mountains, and last snowy area, which is known as polar regions. So on land we have these many types, as habitat, which works as a habitat. Then under water, water is the second major habitat, where it is subdivided into two parts, one sea water and the other pond water. Is this clear? Okay. Then we have adaptation. Adaptation. What is adaptation? What is adaptation? It is changes in the body, features or behavior of animals that help them to survive in a particular habitat. Adaptation is nothing but changes in the body features, changes in the body features or its behavior of animals that help them to survive, that help them to survive in that particular habitat, in that particular habitat. So what is adaptation actually? It is changes in the body features or behavior of animals that help them to survive in a particular habitat. For example, in Arctic region and Antarctic region, where the temperature is always minus below 0 degrees Celsius, there can we go and survive normally as we all live here? Is it possible? No, because it is too much cold. The weather there is too chilled, too cold. So we cannot tolerate it. We cannot tolerate the cold that is blowing there. The wind, the breezes are also cold there. So we cannot bear the cold of that Arctic region or Antarctic region or of this polar region. But animals are living there, like polar bear, then penguin, example. Then how do they live there when it is not possible for us to go and survive there for a longer time? Because their body is suiting, it is surviving only to that condition. For example, polar bear, it is having fur on its body or too much of hair, it is covered on its body, so that resists the cold of that polar region. So it is able to survive in that polar region. Even it is having claws which help it to grip and walk on it. Coming to penguin, penguin is having black layer on its body. What that black layer is doing is, it is actually absorbing the sunlight. We all know that black color is a good conductor of heat. So whatever the black strip is there on its back, it is absorbing heat from the sun. So it keeps the cold and heat balanced and survives there. Is this clear? So changes in the body features or behaviors of animals that help them to survive in a particular region. For example, camel, we all know it is sheep of a desert. It drinks too many water, it drinks too many liters of water, but it drinks only at a time, and it can store it in itself so that whenever it is required by it, it will take it back. But that is not the case for us. We cannot travel too much in desert without water, right? So like this, there are different body changes has made them to survive in a different regions, right? Then coming to adaptation, different animals have different adaptations. On what factors this adaptation is dependent? It is on first factor, body coverings, body coverings, then organs of breathing, then organs of movement, organs of movement. So on these three factors, the adaptation changes from different region to different region. So body coverings of the animals, it is having separate organs of breathing. It is respiratory organs. Actually, what we call is respiratory organs. Depending on even organs of breathing, the adaptation may be changed. And then last, organs of movement. Because of the movement of the organism, the adaptation might have been different. So we have different body coverings, which are like animals, organisms having scales on its body. Scales means not the scale that you use for mathematics, no. And then we have shells, and then hair or fur, and then last one, feathers. So coming to scales, here the organisms like fish, snakes, and crocodile. These are the examples which are having scales on its body. Is this clear? The adaptation is depending upon body coverings of the body. Then what? Then it is organs of breathing and organs of movement. So in that body coverings, there are four types: scales, shells, hair, fur, or feathers. So the organisms which are having scales are fish, snakes, and crocodiles. Then coming to shells, which are those organisms? We have snail, then tortoise, and then oyster. So these are the organisms which are having shells covered to their body. Snail everyone has seen, right? Okay. Then tortoise everyone has seen, which will be having a strong cover on its body, which we call it as it is strongest. Then organism oyster. Then the examples for this hair and fur, both are same, which are rabbit, fox, and then bear. These are having a thick fur on its body, thick hairs on its body. That is why its body covering is by hair or fur. The last one, feathers. I think everyone loves peacock. Peacock is an example. Then, apart from peacock, we have pigeon. Everyone wants to hold that pigeon in their hand, but it is not possible. Apart from pigeon, we have sparrow. Nowadays, sparrows are endangered species, means they are very rare now, right? So in this first category, the organisms which are having scales, what they are doing, its scales are helping it to protect itself from the other organisms. Then coming to second one, shells. like snail, tortoise and oyster. What it is doing, whenever other organisms come, it is withdrawing itself. It is withdrawing itself into that shell and it gets protected. The next we have hair and fur. It is rabbit, fox and bear. So here rabbit, fox and bear. What they are doing? They are protecting themselves from if there is too much of heat, if there is too much of cold or if there is too much of rain, it gets protected from its hair or fur. In this second shells, snails, tortoise and oyster, what they are doing, whenever they feel that they are in danger, it is withdrawing itself, its head and tail into that shell and it gets protected. Here, the fur of rabbit, fox, bear, and what they are doing, it is protecting itself from heat, cold, and rain. Then last we have feathers. It is about peacock, pigeon, and sparrow. What its feathers are doing? First thing, its feathers are helping it to fly because these are going to fly. Peacock, pigeon, sparrow, crow, right? What these organisms are doing? These are flying in the sky with the help of flipping their wings, which are having feathers on it. It gets flying and it also protects from if there is too much heat, too much cold, or too much rain. So it is also getting protected from heat and cold. The next one is it is about breathing organs of animals. So what are the respiratory organs? Actually we call respiratory organs. For example, we are human beings respire through our nose and it is going to be respirated entirely by our lungs. Similarly, there are animals which are having its own respiratory organ. So we'll be seeing that in the next class, right? So till now we have studied what is habitat, then what is adaptation and types of adaptation, on what basis this adaptation is dependent. So this completes today's class. So what is your homework is? You have to define habitat and then you have to define adaptation, right? Apart from that, whatever this because of the body coverings, adaptation was done. It was depending on its scales, shells and feathers and fur or hair. So I want you to I want you to give an example each for this body covering, one organism apart from what is discussed today. For scales, give another example which was not there today. Then apart from scales, we have seen feathers. Feathers, we have to give another example which was not taught today. Then after that, shells, and then fur or hair. So you have to give one example for all these, right? And apart from this, we have to define habitat and adaptation. Is this clear? So if you have any doubts, call and clarify the doubts to school number. We will be available, right? So today's homework, define habitat, define adaptation, give one example each for adaptation through scales, adaptation through feathers, adaptation through shells and adaptations through fur and hair. I think whatever was taught today was understood by you. Quickly we'll have a glance at it. For example, desert, snowy area or polar regions, and then sea water, pond water and forest. whatever the animals or whatever the organisms are living, you have to make a list, right? Then we have studied what is habitat, a place where an animal lives, that is known as habitat. Then adaptation, changes in the body features or behavior of animals so that it can survive in a particular habitat. Then there are two major types of habitat. One is land, the other one is water. Again on land we are going to get plain area, forest, desert, mountains, and then polar regions. Then in water we have pond water and sea water. Then apart from that, adaptation depends on body coverings, then organs of movement and organs of breathing. So we have studied only about body coverings today. So we'll be seeing the next two in the next class. But before that, whatever was taught today, we have to read it thoroughly. Read textbook carefully first thing. Make a habit of reading textbook carefully, and then the homework: define habitat, define adaptation, and give an example for adaptation through scales, feathers, shells, and fur or hair. Is this all right? Okay, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow in the next class. So till then, be safe. Thank you.